All right, please welcome to the stage our next future Titan, the founder and CEO of Horizon3, Snehal Antani. Hey, Snehal, nice to see you.
Likewise.
Thanks for being here. All right, you built a machine that breaks into companies for a living, and they actually pay you for it. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, the best kind of criminals are the ones that don't get caught, and so you learn a lot as you go through it. No, we pioneered this idea of AI hackers, because when I was a CIO, I had no idea I was secure until the bad guys showed up. Are we fixing the right vulnerabilities? Are we logging the right data in Splunk? Does my team even know how to respond to a breach? And the answer is, I don't know. I either wait to get hacked and find out the hard way. I pay a mediocre consultant to show up once a year and test a small sample of my environment. But for every patch Tuesday, I wanted a pen test Wednesday. Every time my environment changed, I wanted to understand if I was exploitable, because having a bunch of vulnerabilities was just noise. Am I exploitable? What is the consequence of exploitation? Are threat actors known to actually use that tactic? That's what I needed to prioritize resources and change what we're doing, because the hardest part of my job as a CIO was deciding what not to fix. And the best way to answer that question is to understand the attacker's perspective. And that's what we built.
All right, grateful for you being here. Judges, over to you. Rinky, I'll kick things off with you for our second contestant.
There's a lot of competitors building in the agentic pen testing. There's, I just sat with Kevin and Alex and hearing about the offensive security space. What are your thoughts?
So my thoughts on that are mimicry is the best form of flattery. Like, we won, we've got 5,000 companies, we're scaling like crazy. Everything works in PowerPoint, and our results will do the talking as we kick Kevin's ass.
Direct, I like it. So thinking about AI, both offensively and defensively, obviously you guys are applying offensive techniques to the defensive problem. I'm curious of your thoughts about a potential arms race in that space, and what does that look like if it plays out?
So it's actually something really interesting. The limiting factor in offensive cyber, honestly, like, why are there so many web app AI pen testing companies right now? Because the cost of training data is zero. You can go train an agent on all the open source applications that are out there in the world and build a good enough thing. I mean, we saw that with Expo. They only earned like $700 in actual bug bounties because they found an inconsequential problem everywhere. And so when the cost of training data is very low, you can get a decent amount of effort. But I don't recall JP Morgan publishing their internal network configurations on the open internet for people to train on, or Morgan Stanley's or CVS's or anyone else. So the most valuable training data in offensive cyber is deeply buried behind the firewalls of these really big companies. And so the arms race, there's an agent's arm race, there's an agent's development arms race, but the limiting factor in any sort of offensive platform is training data, especially infrastructure and network training data. And so I think what we're going to see is the role of AI in accelerating vulnerability research, because once again, if you can get the source code, you can train off of all the source code that's available and do quite a bit of damage. I think the time from patch Tuesday to exploitation of all the security flaws has shrunk dramatically, because that's a really narrow problem to go reason and train off of. But I think to build an AI cyber weapon that you can point, click, shoot, and take over a massive bank looks very different, because the lack of training data available for them to build those capabilities on. That's something that we focus very much on at Horizon3. So I ran more pen tests today than Big Four consulting companies run a year. I ran more pen tests last year than the entire history of computing. And every pen test is an internal pen test around on-prem, cloud, and hybrid infrastructure, is collecting training data telemetry no one else in the world has. And that is an extremely difficult amount of data to collect and build a moat around. And so I think that there is an arms race. I think the arms race is going to be an exploitation research and time to exploit and time to go Kev, like Sissa Kev. That's where you're going to see a lot of the effort. But to build a broad-scale AI cyber weapon is extremely difficult to do because of the lack of infrastructure training data out there.
It's a great point. I think, let me ask it to you this way. I'm a skeptical CISO. One of your guys shows up, tells me the pitch. I say, gosh, that sounds great. Red teaming, pen testing's been around forever. Tell me what's fundamentally different, because I I love Bob on my pen testing company. You know, he takes me out for dinner, buys me steak. We have a great relationship. What's fundamentally different? Why would I leave that and go with you?
Yeah, so first of all, congratulations, you actually have a pen tester. Not everyone has one, especially in the mid-enterprise, mid-market. They don't have anything. It's an IT admin with a couple of security people just wanting to go
You don't
home
think
early.
most companies are doing pen testing?
I don't think they have pen testers. I think they are paying consultants to show up once a year, but most companies don't have an internal red team, which is why the bulk of my users aren't even security people. They're IT admins and network engineers that just want to fix stuff that matters. And all they want to do is make sure that if they're being asked to stay home or stay and work late and patch a bunch of servers and skip their kid's basketball game, it's because if they don't, they're going to get exploited for sure, and the consequence is complete domain compromise. So when you think about companies that started in the space that struggled, one, there was like a legacy approach to writing and hard coding runbooks that just didn't scale. But the other part is they try to build tools for pen testers. That's not the market. There's only 25,000 pen testers globally. There's only 5,000 in the United States. Like, that's a very small addressable market. How many fixers are there out there struggling to prioritize, that want to be able to just fix stuff that actually matters, prove that their tools are working properly, make sure CrowdStrike's configured right? If you're building a pen testing or red teaming platform for the blue team to run self-service pen test, fix stuff that matters, and then get the aha moment of, I fixed a problem, prove to my boss I did a good job, and then tell all your friends, you've got the starting point of something pretty amazing.
Do I still need a pen test team with your product?
I think the role of the human pen tester focuses on long-tail product security and long-tail OT security. I think infrastructure pen testing at scale is a graph reasoning problem best solved by algorithms. I think long-tail bespoke, like logic flaws in your custom apps, or trying to figure out how to break Optimus as a robot at Tesla, or the long-tail nuclear reactor type infrastructure that Dragos does, is uniquely human because there's no training data. There are no cyber ranges. Like, I would love to raise a bunch of money and go buy a nuclear facility. I can't do that. So how am I going to be able to build algorithms that safely attack nuclear facilities in production? Can't be done. And so I think the human focuses on the long-tail bespoke stuff that puts them on stage at DEF CON, doing network reconnaissance, dancing on domain controllers, compromising credentials. That's stuff that machines are just far superior at solving.
Snehal, I remember meeting you a few years ago, and you were talking about how lean your company was internally and what you were building differently with AI, and like now AI's come a long way. Like, what does that look like today for you at Horizon 3?
Yeah, so penetration testing is actually similar to chess structurally. So in chess, you've got well-defined opening moves. You're going to move your pawns to the middle of the board. You're going to use your knights to maximize maneuverability. And then the end of the game, you're going to use your rooks to roll up the king. Like, you've got well-defined opens, you've got well-defined closes, but the middle of the chess game is completely dynamic. The same thing happens in pen testing. So what are your opening moves? Network reconnaissance and discovery. You're going to fingerprint every host, port, and service. You're going to find ways to compromise credentials. You're going to find really interesting services like Dell iDRAC or HP ILO or Veeam Backup Recovery, things that are attractive to attackers. And what are you going to do at the end of the game? You're going to find ways to steal data, compromise your domain, pop a host. But the middle is totally open because the adversary has, or the environment has a vote. And so what we have to balance is, when are you going to be deterministic in the opening and the closing? When are you going to be creative? And how do you use the right technique for the task depending on where you're at in the middle of that chess game? Does that make sense?
All right, I got a two-part question. So going back to the pen testing analogies that you had, what are the pen tests you guys support, and do you specialize in any, right? Web app versus on network?
Yeah, so we focused initially on infrastructure pen testing at scale. So everything below custom code. Think of your network infrastructure, identity, access infrastructure, data environments, on-prem, in the cloud, and how they're federated together. And the reason why we started there was twofold. Number one, that is the bulk of the attack surface. Rarely are attackers finding 0 days in your custom code because the effort they have to put in to research your code is extreme. So only if a nation state is very specifically targeting you, like SolarWinds, is that going to be the primary way in. Usually, it's a perimeter device, like your Fortinet device or Avanti device or something. And then once they're in, it's living off the land, it's harvesting credentials. So that's where we focused for infrastructure. The other reason we focus there is that is the most valuable training data no one else has. And the strategy of the company was chapter 1, build the best AI hacker in the world. Chapter 2, which we've now, well in the thick of, is use that AI hacker to build the best left of boom proactive security platform. So customers will lead with pen testing, and then they'll use us to take out vulnerability management, risk prioritization, as well as deception and breach prevention. Like all of those are left of boom activities. The new chapter we're entering is using offense to improve defense. And the analogy I use is, my wife loves it, if I don't take out the garbage, my wife gets mad. If I don't do the dishes, my wife gets mad. I have a very clear cause and effect pair. If I'm the attacker, I am the cause. I've attacked your environment. I know exactly how your EDR has responded, your data DLP solution, your WAF, your PAM. I know exactly how every layer in your SOC stack has reacted and not reacted. I can then use that cause and effect pair to help you precisely improve the EDR, help you improve your firewall configurations, help improve where to deploy deception and so on. And I think that's what's really important in this new era where in 77 seconds, I can hack an environment. If you can't stop me in 76 seconds, it's game over. Step 1, improve your security effectiveness and make sure all the tools you have are working. Step 2, work to accelerate the decision-making process to detect and stifle and contain an attack. Step 3, set the conditions from a workflow and analyst standpoint to push as much level 1 SOC analyst to robot decision-making, have your humans focus on the hardest problems in the stack, and build muscle memory to get faster and faster in responding to a breach. And that's what we enable, using offense as the driver for all of that.
And just real quick, you said that, pen tests right now, AI is not going to go after nuclear weapons and all these other things. Do you think that's going to be true in the future?
I think that training data and access to cyber ranges are the limiting factor to hacking large-scale OT environments, large-scale long-tail environments. If a nation state wants to do that, like there's a book, Countdown to Zero Day, they talk about the Aurora experiments, where for the first time a cyber weapon was developed. This is like the development of Stuxnet. And a cyber weapon was used to get a particular turbine to blow up. That takes national level resources to go figure out. And so, yeah, will the Chinese, the North Koreans, the Iranians commit the resources necessary to build cyber weapons to go after that sector? Sure. Will they hand that to proxies to go off and utilize? Sure. But is that something that's wide scale adopted by threat actors? No. The barrier to entry to get there is quite consequential.
Snehal Antani, we got to leave it there. Give it up for Snehal.
I have so many more questions.
That was great.
That
Way
was
to go.
great.